Ladies and gents, it's Elemental Shaman time. A lot of you have been asking for this one, as I think people are a little bit worried that they're going to mess with what is considered to be kind of a fun, goofy spec. I would agree with that. It always has been a little rough around the edges. It's a little bit silly in how it plays. It's very simplistic. Of course, the old chain lightning joke going out there. And have they done anything to kind of mess that up? Because people who like that style of play have gravitated towards the Elemental Shaman. And I completely understand that we want to see anything cool added to it. Have they done anything to mess that style up? What I'm glad to say is what they've done is add a little bit of refinement, which is actually very, very cool with me. I like the way they've done that. As I said, it was a little bit rough around the edges, a little bit silly in places, but what they've done is just said, that's okay. What we'll do is we'll just smooth it off, just correct a few little things, just tweaks here and there, while keeping exactly the same sort of gameplay that you're used to, which I think is very, very cool. So, to give you some examples of that, Echo the Elements, the classic thing, your spells get doubled, but you also had little or no control over that. It would just happen passively, and that's kind of a thing. People were fine with that. What they've decided to do is just give you a little warning that Echo of the Elements is now a buff that you get on yourself. This is, of course, the level 60 talent, and you'll notice on my screen these black edges that appear. The in-game notification is kind of an opaque black edge. And what that means is your next lava burst, essentially what you'll be using it on, is going to not trigger its cooldown, so you'll be able to do 2 in a row. So it gives you a nice warning that that is about to happen, which is wonderful. Instead of it being this out-of-control thing, it can proc on weak spells, it can proc on things that you just didn't want it to happen to. Now you'll actually get the notification that it will always proc on something powerful, and it's telling you when that's happening, so you're not interrupting your flow of gameplay. So usually you'd be spamming Lava Burst, and the likelihood is you'll be spamming Lightning Bolt to go next. Well, now you'll get the notification to say, just keep spamming Lava Burst, it's going to be fine. Everything's pretty cool with that. Ancestral Swiftness, I just wanted to kind of bring this up, is it's still a little bit stupid in my eyes, as it's a nature spell only, which, I would like to have seen that extended so it's a little bit more useful. To try and keep it useful, you get 5% more haste, which obviously, as we get later on, certainly if you've got a few packs with Flame Shocks ticking on them, it's still proc the instant Lava Burst, and of course your Ascendance, then it always gets a little bit lost. That haste doesn't become that beneficial at that point, which always makes it a little bit weak. Similar with Elemental Force. It's powerful! Don't get me wrong, it's still powerful. Elemental Mastery, I should say. But that haste can get lost in the mire somewhere. Later on, we still get to keep Elemental Blast. Our Primal Elementalist remains. Our Unleashed Fury is there. That's my spell of choice at the moment. I'm always torn. Elemental Blast is such a cool spell, but of course we know that the critical strike chance is again wasted for an Elemental Shaman, especially when it comes to the Lava Burst. It's just it's not a bonus. It's not a bonus at all. But the multi-strike could be very interesting. I'd like to see how that plays out if we get more bonuses on that kind of stuff. See how it works. Unleashed Fury is just great. Just great. Empowers your Unleash Flame. We don't have Unleash Weapon anymore, and Unleash Imbue. We don't have any of that, or Unleash Elements, I believe it's called on live. We just have Unleash Flame. You no longer have to buff your weapons. I don't know if you're aware of that, but you no longer have to buff your weapons. You just have Unleash Flame, and that then increases your Lightning Bolt damage by 30%, your Lava Burst by 10%, which is just cool because you can nicely fit it into your rotation. Last thing Elemental Shamans want to do is cast Lightning Bolt, right? It's the last thing we want to do. So it's another spell to slap in there that just gives you a little bit of bonus to everything else you're doing. Absolutely adore it. The big elephant in the room, of course, is the loss of movement of Lightning Bolt. Yeah, we can't cast Lightning Bolt on the move anymore. I've got to say, at first, it was a major downer. A major downer. I loved that aspect of the Elemental Shaman, is that I could just constantly move. What Blizzard seems to think, and I do tend to agree overall, is that just being able to constantly move is a little bit overpowered unless it's your niche like the Hunters, and giving it to so many specs was a bit silly. What it does do, though, you get used to it very, very quickly. You just get used to it, so it's no longer a big deal, and it puts much more emphasis on your Spirit Walker's Grace. What tends to happen, or what was happening on live, is people were just macroing Spirit Walker's Grace to Ascendance to make sure that all the Lava Bursts could get out there, which is a little bit of a waste of time. So by removing Lightning Bolt from just passively being able to move, it does put more emphasis on your Spirit Walker's Grace and allow you to use that more effectively. And I quite like that. It's more emphasis on there. Let's talk about the level 100 talents quickly. Liquid Magma is, it does what it says on the tin, right? You get a little Magma Totem. Oh, I was slightly unimpressed by it, I've got to say. I was slightly unimpressed by what it did. It surely be fine for AoE. Storm Elemental Totem seems to be the go-to, though. Storm Elemental Totem is wonderful. It doesn't, you can't cast it with your Fire Elemental Totem, so you have that kind of this pet cycle going on. Everybody will be fine with that, I think, because it's a very, very cool spell. It does what it does. Goes around, kicks some ass, and then you can throw out your Fire Elemental. And it does have some synergy with Primal Elementalist that'll even change its model for you to whichever one you prefer. Elemental Fusion, where your Lava Burst and Lava Lash increase the damage of your next shock by 50%, stacking up to 2 times. And my only issue with Elemental Fusion in terms of Elemental, and this is the problem when you've got 3 distinctive styles of play across your class, which is healing and melee and ranged, is I do feel, again, this talent is a little bit weak for Elemental because we do far more Lava Bursts than we do Shocks. We're either going to be throwing out Flame Shocks. This could be very cool in an AoE situation, don't get me wrong. This could be very, very cool for throwing out extra Flame Shocks and stuff. But we tend to do a lot more Lava Bursts than we do Shocks in general on a single target. So for enhancement, it's actually quite cool because our Lava Lash is kind of controlled. We understand what's going on there and we can fit it in quite nicely. It does, again, lose a little bit of strength from my feeling. I've tried them all. A little gut feeling there is it just lose a little bit of strength in the elemental style of things. And Liquid Magma is essentially just an magma. It's just an AoE. So we are kind of pigeonholed a little bit. I've got to see the numbers, of course. The mathematicians will work it out for us. But it seems like we are pigeonholed a little bit into Storm Elemental Totem. But that's no bad thing. It's no bad thing because it's actually very, very cool. Overall, really enjoying it. Earthquake made its return. It was gone on Alpha, thank Christ. It's returned for some fucking reason to take up a key binding, I guess. Just to exist in some fashion. The damage is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. In the hundreds in the level 92s and a few K at the top level, which is just, compared to spamming your Chain Lightning on 5 targets, get the fuck out of here. I'm not using a 2.2 second cast on that. Get lost. It does knock down targets. I've actually been using it due to the array of weaker players, we'll say, who've been tanking and healing our dungeons. I have actually been using it to knock enemies down and kind of reduce the amount of times I'm going to wipe in these dungeons. The dungeons have had a reasonable difficulty increase, I could guess we could say, for pugs in general, and therefore it's one of those spells that you can help out with that. But when it comes to your raiding, nah. I can't see it. Unless they do something special with it or it's useful on a certain encounter, but it's still a 10% chance of knocking things down. What to say on that, guys? What to say? I will mention briefly the Fulmination change. It's now up to 20 stacks. 20 stacks. So it's powerful. It hurts when you fire it off, but it's up to 20 charges, right? It's up to 20 charges and it will consume any charges beyond 1. So your maximum is going to be the 20. It does mean you use it less, which is a little bit nice, trying to tweak it. People were using it before actual Fulmination itself procced. So I could see why they changed it, is to free you up a little bit more to not overlap Flame Shock so much. It's okay. 10 might be better. 10 might be better. It does seem a long time when we're AoEing. Of course, we did have the problem of AoEing so hard with Chain Lightning that we were proccing Fulmination so quickly that Shock was still on cooldown. 10 or 12 might be better. 20 seems a little bit large to me in terms of its style. I would like to see it a bit more useful. Other than that, it's still pretty much the same, guys. So enjoy your Ellie Shaman. All right, guys. Bye.